But there is another kind of American warfare. This kind never comes with a ticker tape parade. You won't see tearful scenes at the airport, no surprising the kids at school with an early return for the holidays. You might not even see much news about it. This other kind of war is the one our country is waging with unmanned drones. We send remote-controlled drones with names like Predator and Reaper to hunt for terrorism suspects. We send our drones out from bases in several countries on missions in several countries, some of which we are not officially declared war against. We send them out to kill. Sometimes drones gather intelligence, but they're really great at killing. Robotic warfare is weird and more than a little disquieting. It's secretive. So we end up with stories about suspects believed to have been killed in American drone strikes. We don't necessarily know how many or when or where or who. In a strictly tactical sense, it's entirely possible, and many of the supporters in the administration and elsewhere make the case that drones are an incredibly effective way of waging what was once called the war on terror. But we don't know for sure the ratio of civilians killed by mistake to genuinely dangerous militants killed on purpose, because the government's official position on the CIA drone program is that it does not exist. We do know, however, that when a drone blows up a home with children in it, it makes headlines in the local papers. We know it does not engender goodwill. We know that none of us here at home are forced to think much about what it would be like to be the father or the mother of a child killed from above. This year, on September 30th, the CIA led a drone operation against Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen. He was a cleric and suspected leader of al-Qaeda who had been convicted of no crimes. He was suspected of being involved with terrorism. He'd never been convicted of it. He was an American citizen. He was born in America, and he was killed by an American drone strike. So as far as we know, it was the first time ever that U.S. forces planned to kill and did kill an American citizen. 2 weeks later, another strike in Yemen against another suspected terrorist killed al-Awlaki's teenage son. The boy was 16 years old. He was in Yemen searching for his father. Relatives say he and some friends were about to start eating at a barbecue when the drone strike happened. After the boy's death, the Washington Post published his birth certificate. He was born in Denver. You can see his father's birthplace here in New Mexico. In a report last month called The Year of the Drone, the New America Foundation considered U.S. drone strikes in Pakistan alone going back to 2004. They used press reports from countries around the world, and they came up with these estimates. This is how many militants the New America Foundation thinks were killed by U.S. drone strikes in Pakistan. This is 4 years from 2004 to 2007 under the Bush administration. 4 years in this one column. This is the low estimate. This is what has happened each year after that. U.S. drones killed at least 3 times as many militants in Pakistan alone every year since 2008 than we did in the 4 years before combined. Drone warfare began as a Bush administration program, but the Obama White House has accelerated and expanded it vastly. And still, we don't know much about how American warfare like this works. The Washington Post published a blockbuster report this week that fills in some of the picture. Quote, the apparatus involves dozens of secret facilities, including 2 operational hubs on the East Coast, virtual Air Force cockpits in the Southwest, and clandestine bases in at least 6 countries on 2 continents. Other commanders-in-chief have presided over wars with far higher casualty counts, the report continues, but no president has ever relied so extensively on the secret killing of individuals to advance the nation's security goals. What does it mean for a democracy when the government wages a secret war? Joining us now is Spencer Ackerman, who writes about national security for Wired's excellent Danger Room blog. Spencer, thanks for checking in.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Spencer, can you explain why we have seen such escalation in the use of drones in the first 3 years of the Obama administration? What is the rationale, the reasoning strategically behind it?
There's a strategic argument, and then there's a political argument that's a little bit more difficult to make. The strategic argument is that this is a really advanced and developed way to apply the kind of lethal force that usually and in the past was only applicable against large groups of people. Now it's very specifically targeted. Every time a drone strike occurs, that's kind of the lagging indicator of a body of intelligence work that's gone into targeting it. Then there's a political argument, which is kind of unique to the Obama administration in that it's got to still prosecute, or feels the need to still prosecute, a global war against al-Qaeda, but it doesn't want to get bogged down and hung up on giant land invasions and wants to ultimately take credit for ending the big wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. How to still do that, the drone kind of squares that circle.
That's an interesting way of putting it. There seems to be three sort of issues here. One is a legal issue, which is extremely complicated in terms of what legal justification there is for which missions. And in fact, it's sort of a patchwork. The Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, has certain legal directives under the authorization to use a military force. The CIA has other legal directives under a presidential finding, which was signed and then later revised. Then there's, to me, this basic moral question of effectiveness. I mean, there was an early report by David Kilcullen, who's a counterinsurgency expert, claiming that 98% of the fatalities from drones were in fact civilians. We only had a 2% kill rate. The study that I just cited from New America Foundation had the civilian death rate at 34%. How do we have a conversation? What do we know about how many innocents are being killed in these operations?
The frank answer is we know nothing, because nothing is being disclosed and there is effectively no oversight on the drone program at all. The administration and members of Congress can't even say the word drone. Right. The word is classified. Whenever you hear anyone talk about this program, they talk about a capability. That's the euphemism, and the amount of euphemism that surrounds this program indicates how little oversight there really is. We don't honestly know an answer to that question. It is impossible on the outside really to judge it. What we do see is bodies of children every now and again turning up in Pakistan, and now as the drones proliferate to Yemen and Somalia, we may see those as well.
Spencer Ackerman, national security reporter for Wired's Danger Room blog. Thank you so much for your help, and Happy New Year.
And you as well, Chris.